When the name Sega comes to mind, most people would presumably think of Sonic and very little else. However, Sega has actually made tons of different games, and out of every series they've ever made, my favorite would have to be Super Monkey Ball, a series of hardcore physics-based puzzle platforming games. While Monkey Ball was once highly regarded, its more recent outings have been less than favored in the public eye. So, how about we take a look back at the console Monkey Ball titles, and see if such a dive in caliber is truly quantifiable. Beginning with the game that started it all, Super Monkey Ball. We might as well start with the core gameplay. One of the things that sets Super Monkey Ball apart from other platformers is that your only method of control is the left thumbstick. What that means is that no other actions are present. No jumping, no special abilities, and no camera control. Even then, movement is different to what you might expect. You control the tilt of the level, rather than the monkey, and the ball moves faster when you tilt the stage more. This game's analog sensitivity feels just right, and the acceleration feels natural. Of course, the ball's physics will also respond to climbing slopes or rolling down them, by losing or gaining speed respectively. Your ability to climb such slopes is then dependent on two factors: the speed at which you approach the incline, and/or the incline being low enough to where the tilt of the stage can overcome the slope. While the monkey can't jump on its own, you can get some air by closely clipping corners. These can be bumps on the ground, intentionally placed to send you flying, or they can just be platforms that can be employed to skip over certain parts of stages. All of this combines together to form an experience that, while simplistic, will provide tons of depth to anybody willing to learn the ins and outs of this game and master it. Needless to say, this game has awesome controls and physics. The game's sound design also does a lot to improve the feel of the core gameplay. The game has okay music, but honestly, I really don't think that the music is anything too special. Most of it is just pretty forgettable, and I think that stays true for every Monkey Ball game up until Banana Blitz. The game does make up for it with some great sound effects, though. The game's narrator emphasizes starting a new level, finishing a stage, and falling off of said level extremely well. The sound effect that plays on loop when you move fast serves to make you feel faster than you otherwise would. And the sound speeds up and slows down according to your current velocity. I will say that I find Super Monkey Ball 2's sound design to be much improved over the first title. Game 2's sound effects just have a much more satisfying crunch to them, compared to the originals, which are softer and less impactful. This is only really noticeable with the sound that plays upon landing from a fall. Still, this first game does a good job with sound design. With the core mechanics covered, we can now move on to the most important factor in determining the quality of a Super Monkey Ball game, the level design. I feel I should say now that Super Monkey Ball 1 is my favorite Monkey Ball game to date, and most of that is due to how well the stages are crafted in this game. The levels are very compact, dense with challenges that require delicacy and focus. Every individual inch of platforms is so well utilized. I never found myself feeling as though any single section of a stage was merely made to unnecessarily pad out the game's runtime. Most stages can be completed in just a few seconds, which keeps the game's pace up and prevents fatigue with any single obstacle. That last point is important, for reasons I'll get into in just a bit. Anyways, the objective of each stage is to break the tape attached to the goalpost at the end. As you might have noticed, there are a selection of levels that contain multiple goalposts. The blue goalpost is the standard one, but different color goals will allow you to skip stages, green goals being better than the blue ones, and red ones improving from there. Unlike Game 2, however, the amount of levels that these goals skip doesn't seem to be as well defined. Also, these skip goals occasionally skip a lot of levels. Advanced 18 comes to mind, skipping all the way to Advanced 25 if you nab the best goal. Now, you might be wondering why you would ever just take the blue goal when the green and red goals are so much better. If you are curious about that, then, well, one word: challenge. Remember how earlier on in the review I made a point to give compliments to the short level length, which helped to prevent fatigue with any individual challenge? Well, that fatigue, I felt, was worth mentioning, because this game is very, 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 very difficult. It is crystal clear to me that the designers were fully aware of the amazing controls and physics that they had created, and had no problem pushing the limits of the game's systems to the max. Super Monkey Ball 1 is, in my opinion, the hardest game in the entire series. At least when talking about the expert through master stages. Nearly every single stage within those categories feel like they want nothing more than to send your monkey of choice flying down into the abyss below. Every obstacle is always finding some new way to put your skill through its paces. Sometimes you are required to make skillful jumps and/or landings that can be hard to stick. Some levels might test timing, or spatial awareness, or mastery of the physics, or, most infamously, balance via these extremely narrow walkways that require a steady thumb. On top of all of that, Super Monkey Ball also features a time limit, either 30 or 60 seconds, as if the game wasn't hard enough. Most levels are so short that the time limit won't even be a consideration, but many levels that revolve around tightropes can really run the timer. The skills that these levels test vary, meaning that mastering the Expert to Master campaign will require building a diverse skill set and coming to terms with the physics engine. An engine that may at first appear awkward or backwards compared to most other platformers, but one that allows far more experimentation than the majority of platformers in existence. Despite Super Monkey Ball's insane difficulty, it also manages to never become unfair. Well, except for Master 8, which we will get to in a bit. The explanation for why that is goes back to the stage design. And now is a good time to get into more specific examples by looking at some of the game's levels. One thing that this game does well is offering stages across all 3 difficulties, but increasing the challenge in each subsequent version. Beginner 10, Advanced 17, and Expert 7 are the most obvious examples. Beginner 10 is easily the hardest stage of the beginner difficulty, featuring ramps, stairs, small platforms, bumps, and most importantly, a thin path at the end that, while not extremely hard, requires at least a little precision with the controls. Advanced 17 is a natural evolution of Beginner 10, offering mostly the same obstacles but with a bump up in challenge as well as generally being longer, although you might not be appreciating any of that considering how easy it is to skip the supermajority of the stage. Well, I mean, you could skip a big chunk of Beginner 10 as well, but not nearly as easily. Anyways, Expert 7 is the hardest version of this course, and probably one of the hardest levels in this whole game. Unlike the previous 2 versions, there's only one skip, and it's fairly minor and extremely difficult. You are basically gonna have to play this whole stage. On top of much of what made the other levels challenging, the platforms are even smaller, the hills are much steeper, there was an all-new checkerboarded section that is easy to slip off of, and the walkway at the end is the thinnest and longest of the 3 levels. While extremely hard, Expert 7 also feels very fair because of its own design, as well as the levels that preceded it. Beginner 9, Advanced 19, and Expert 22 are also good examples. Beginner 9 just involves you running down a ramp and jumping off to the goal. Pretty easy. Then Advanced 19 adds a second jump and a moving platform. Finally, Expert 22 removes the wall that catches you after the jump, and requires you to find a path around the Sega logo. Beginner Extra 2 and the Advanced Extra 2 are also good examples of this. Despite several levels following this iterative philosophy, many other stages are more unique challenges that are more one-off tests of skill. Expert 35 tests your ability to track the rotation of a platform and maintain a steady pace to keep up with it. Expert 16 is a test of the player's understanding of how the monkey reacts to a slope. Expert 15 is a test of timing, Advanced 14 is a general test of stage tilting, with the challenge being to create a path through a maze. Expert 32 is a test of precision, and Master 8 is a test of pure dumb luck. Actually, on the topic of Master, let's discuss how this game is structured. Each main difficulty has a selection of stages, with the stage count increasing as you go up in rank. Beginner has 10, Advanced has 30, and Expert contains 50 stages. You might then assume that the game only houses 90 levels, but there are actually 118. This is because 28 stages are hidden behind specific criteria. Beginner and Advanced both have extra levels that are locked behind completing the difficulty without dying once. That might seem like a high bar to entry, but for the most part completing these 2 difficulties in a perfect run is not super hard, especially when factoring in skip goals. Once you reach the extra levels, you'll find that Beginner contains 3 extra stages, while Advanced has 5. These stages really aren't that good and are honestly really easy. You don't even unlock anything for playing them. Now Expert is where the extra stages get more interesting. Obviously, beating all of Expert with just 1 life wasn't really gonna be super feasible, so Expert just requires you to beat all 50 stages without using a continue. That might not sound too difficult, but playing through so many stages of such high difficulty with such a tiny margin of error is in no way an easy feat. For the purposes of this video, I felt it necessary to capture footage of a full Expert to Master run, and this was actually my first time getting to Master in the first game. Honestly though, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I actually did it in just 2 tries. That could also be down to, well, I'm a Super Monkey Ball master, what can I say? Anyways, if you manage to make it through Expert Extra, you will find 10 levels to play. Like Beginner and Advanced Extra, these levels really aren't anything special, besides maybe Expert Extra 9. Unlike the other extra level sets, however, beating this one without using a continue will actually unlock something. Something of real significance for a Monkey Ball game. Now, let's get into Master. Master is hard. Very hard. Here you will find 10 of the hardest levels that the Monkey Ball series has ever seen, or ever will see. These levels are unrelenting, essentially wanting you dead at every turn. It seems clear to me that the developers knew that if you made it this far, nothing could be too difficult. Because of that, these levels feature many of the same types of obstacles that you would have seen in the previous difficulties, only cranked up to the max. Pathways are far more treacherous, often shrinking to ridiculous thinnesses. Hills become steeper and thinner than ever before. Moving platforms zip around at fast speeds despite their tiny size. Other moving obstacles are also sped up to an extreme degree. Despite that, I find myself really enjoying Master in this game. I mean, that might just be because, like I said earlier, I am a Super Monkey Ball master, but still. The challenge is really exciting. It seems so daunting upon first play, but becomes so rewarding once you have built up a full skill set that is equipped to take on any of these levels. Well, except for Master 8. I don't know what happened here, especially since the other 117 levels are all varying degrees of good. Many of them are even amazing. Master 8, however, is a completely luck-based stage. There is almost no skill to this level, and you are just required to throw yourself at it over and over again, until the game relents and lets you reach the goal. And I know that it technically isn't luck-based, but it might as well be, since no one besides a high-level speedrunner will be able to map out an exact path that works 100% of the time. Even though that level is really bad, I'm not going to let one level ruin an otherwise outstanding game. Speaking of that game, Super Monkey Ball is awesome and one of my favorite video games of all time. Last video, I stated that Super Monkey Ball Deluxe was one of my favorite games, which may have implied that it was my favorite Monkey Ball game. However, coming back to this first game has really made it clear to me how good it is. How pure it is with a nigh-perfect level set. Sure, Deluxe does compile this game's levels, as well as 46 of its own, but it is ultimately dragged way down by the weaker link of the classic Monkey Ball duology. Super Monkey Ball has nice graphics, amazing performance, perfect controls, good sound design, and, most importantly, an astounding level set which contains 117 levels that are good at worst and amazing at best. The game's mediocre music and one bad level are disappointing blemishes on an otherwise faultless package, but those are minor nitpicks that are in no way important enough to drag this game down for me. Oh, wait, I forgot to talk about the minigames. Well, on top of all of the standard gameplay, this game also includes 6 minigames. I've heard it said before that the ball rolling gameplay is just a negligible side mode to what is the real mode, the minigames. And to that, I say, what? I mean, the minigames are okay. Monkey Fight is okay, Monkey Golf is okay, Monkey Target is pretty good, Monkey Billiards is the best one, Monkey Race and Bowling are bad. Overall, they're better than you might expect for a side mode in a marble game, but the best thing about Classic Monkey Ball? I don't think so. That is basically all I have to say about Super Monkey Ball for the Nintendo GameCube. Join me next time when we discuss the game's 2002 sequel, Super Monkey Ball 2. Will it raise the quality standard of Monkey Ball to all new heights, or will it not? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time I decide to upload, I guess.